In this video lecture we will see expansion valve and dryers. So we will discuss these all things in short. See, the expansion valve, it is a device that meters or regulates the flow of liquid refrigerant to an evaporator. It also divides the high from the low pressure side of the system. Since after expansion valve there is a sudden release of pressure, or pressure reduces, and the pressure above the expansion valve is high and below the expansion valve is low, very low, and that meters or regulate the flow of refrigerant to the evaporator. Evaporator is a part where we put our food items which is to be refrigerated, and so it regulates the flow of refrigerant in evaporator. And now let's see the different types of expansion valves are capillary tube, pressure control or volume expansion valve, thermostatic expansion valve, high side float valve, low side float valve, and solenoid valve. We will discuss one by one in short. Okay, so this is a capillary tube. These capillary tubes are basically made of copper, and it is around 5.5 to 2.28 mm inside diameter. Okay, this is basically used in domestic refrigerator, and one end of the capillary tube is connected to the condenser while the other end is connected to the evaporator. A capillary tube has one limitation, that once a particular bore and length of capillary is selected for particular system, it cannot adjust. Okay, and the capillary tube works as follows. It acts as restrictor in the flow of liquid refrigerant, and due to its length and small diameter offers sufficient resistance to the flow of refrigerant. Okay, so it creates pressure difference in the system and holds back the refrigerant to build up high pressure in the condenser and enables it to condense during operation of compressor. Advantage of capillary tube is that its construction is simple and it requires no maintenance. It is easy to clean, and there is no maintenance cost for the capillary tube, so it's very simple in operation. But the main disadvantage of this capillary tube is that refrigerant must be free from moisture and dirt, otherwise it will choke the tube and stop the flow of refrigerant. If there is a moisture content inside the capillary tube, or there will be dirt particle, then that may choke the capillary tube, since its internal diameter is very low, so that may restrict the flow of refrigerant and make it inefficient. And the second is that it cannot used with high fluctuating load conditions, since the amount of refrigerant with that passes through the capillary tube is restricted due to its low bore diameter, so it cannot be used for high fluctuating load conditions. Okay, and now next is second type of expansion device is hand expansion valve. Okay, this is just manual operated type of expansion valve. See, this is a diagram of where this is a hand expansion valve, and this is the needle which we use to rotate, and the refrigerant comes from here and then goes to this evaporator portion. This side is the condenser part, and this side is the evaporator part. So by this action of this valve, by regulating the valve, it allows the flow of refrigerant from condenser to evaporator. Next is automatic expansion valve. In automatic expansion valve, since this is also used to maintain the constant pressure throughout the varying load operation on the evaporator, controlling the quantity of refrigerant flowing into the evaporator. Actually, its main function is to maintain the constant pressure throughout the system. So let's see how does it work. This is a diagram of a pressure expansion valve. This is a diaphragm, and this is a spring, and this springs apply load on the diaphragm, and there is the pressure, and this is the needle, and refrigerant enters from here, and if the refrigerant pressure is more than that the pressure applying through this spring, then this needle will close, and it will restrict the flow of refrigerant through evaporator, So if this refrigerant pressure is low as compared to the spring pressure, then this will open the needle and the refrigerant will flow. So this is how it maintains the constant pressure throughout the system. It is also called constant pressure expansion valve. Advantage of this type of automatic expansion valve is that the constant pressure is always maintained at the inlet of the evaporator. Okay, the main advantage is that it maintains the pressure throughout the system constant, but limitation is that there is a flow back in compressor is possible. Okay, the compressor towards the compressor the refrigerant can flow, so that is the limitation. Next is thermostatic expansion valve. In this type of expansion valve, this basically works on the principle of temperature. See, this is the diagram. In this diagram, just remember that when temperature rises, then the needle opens and refrigerant, it allows the refrigerant to flow. This is liquid inlet, refrigerant inlet, and when temperature rises, then this goes up or down. So it allows the refrigerant to flow and to evaporator. This is evaporator, this is inlet, and this is going to evaporator. And when the temperature falls, then it closes the needle, so it doesn't allow to enter the refrigerant. This type of thermostatic expansion valve is basically used in large refrigeration and air conditioning machinery. These are also used with low temperature application and in package type air conditioners. Now let's see the float valve. There are two types of float valve. Basically, what is float valve? In float valves are used as expansion valves with fluid type evaporators. Okay, the valve actuates with the change in the level of the liquid refrigerant in the float chamber. So valve actuates with the change in the level of liquid refrigerant in the float chamber. Okay, valve fluctuates or actuates with the or open or closes the based on the level of liquid refrigerant in the float chamber. So depending on the location, upon the location of float valve, they are classified as low side float valve, high side float valve. In low side float valve, this float valve is situated near to the side of the evaporator, and in high side float valve, the float valve is located to the side of condenser before entering to the evaporator. See, this is a low side float valve, maintains level in evaporator, and this is a high side float valve where this is a liquid line coming from the liquid is coming from the condenser to this liquid, and this just after the leaving the condenser there is a float valve, and this side is called high pressure side. And in this case you can see that this is the suction where directly it is sucking directly this liquid. So this is located near evaporator coil. So this is a low side float valve, pressure is low here. And next is the solenoid valve. This solenoid valve is just works on the electromagnetic principle, and just remember this thing only. And last one is the electronic expansion valve. In electronic expansion valve works on the principle of electronics circuit. Now liquid receiver is made of cast iron or cast steel. It is located just after the condenser in vertical or horizontal position. Liquid receiver just fulfill the ensures the desired level of the refrigerant in the tank. So its function is only to maintain the desired level. This is a gas filter. This gas filter is located after the only refrigerant. This is the only filter or to remove the foreign particles, and this is also known as strainer. It basically protects the foreign particles from entering to the compressor. And next is the dryer. These are basically used silica gel, calcium chloride, these are the good absorbent of moisture, so these are used as a dryer. Now let's discuss the evaporators. Evaporators are the basically classified as dry expansion evaporator and flooded type evaporator. And we know that evaporator is a part of refrigerator where we put our food items which we want to refrigerate. So evaporator refrigerant takes heat from those food items and get vaporized and goes to compressor. Okay, in dry expansion evaporator, you see that this is the refrigerant which is coming from the condenser, and it is initially in the form of liquid, and when it passes through these tubes, it becomes vapor form, because it is gaining heat from the food items. So it takes heat and vaporizes and comes to the compressor, goes by the suction action of to the compressor. Okay, so in this type of evaporator, the liquid refrigerant is in the form, partially in the form of liquid and partially in the form of vapor. Now second is the flooded evaporator. In this type of evaporator, there is a maintenance of constant liquid level on the evaporator. Okay, this is the evaporator which here we have an accumulator which accumulates the liquid droplet, and this is the liquid level which is maintained constantly, and the liquid is flowing throughout. But there is also a mixture of liquid and vapor. Now let's see the type of construction. This is the first type, bare tube type, in which the steel or copper tube is used, and it is in the form of a spiral or flat or zigzag path. You can see that this is the diagram for bare tube evaporator. Second is plate surface evaporator. In this type of evaporator, sheets of metal are welded together to increase the surface area, and this type of evaporator, plate surface evaporator, is used in domestic refrigerator features, and it is easily cleaned and defrosted manually. Next is fin tube evaporator. In this type of evaporator, you can see there are the fins connected with these tubes, and that increases the surface area, and that ensures the more heat transfer from the food items to refrigerate evaporator. Now let's the accumulator or surge drum. This is basically a vessel which accumulates, and this is a accumulator or surge drum, and this is used to accumulate the liquid droplets, and it prevents the liquid droplets from going to the compressor. Now let's see what is the frost formation. So you know that the air contains moisture, water droplets, so that may condense on inside the surface of your refrigerator cabinet. So that is a undesired thing. See, there is a possibility of formation of ice on the surface of the cooling coil. If air is used as source of heat in primary or secondary circuit, when cooled below dew point, the moisture in the air deposits on the cooling coil and is frozen when further cooled. Okay, so if there is a there is a frozen ice on the surface of cooling coil, then that will decrease somehow the efficiency of the refrigerator. So frost acts as an insulation. It wastes power and causes unnecessary wear and tear in machinery. It also reduces COP and refrigeration capacity of the system. So to prevent the frost formation, defrosting is done. So defrosting is basically, in general, you can say that it is a method of melting the ice formation. So it can be done by many ways: by spraying the hot water inside the refrigerator, and it can be done by thermostat, which maintains the temperature by using the heater that heats the refrigerant and rises the temperature of refrigerator, that melts the whole ice. And there is also one method of opening the door of refrigerator for 2 hours and switching off the all switch connections, and that also works as good defrosting. See here, this is a solid absorption system for of defrosting. A solid drying agent like silica gel, activated alumina or carbon is used to dehumidify the air so that the moisture in the air is removed before passing the air over the cooling coil. Okay, so the silica gel or alumina are used for drying the cooling coil. So now in next class we will see the refrigerants. Please friends, like, comment or share my videos, and I will try to help you more in next video. Thank you.